Welcome to the Shoot to Hill podcast. If you don't know me, my name is Martin Depict. I'm a photographer and videographer based in Los Angeles. And I started making shorts or short form content, vertical short form content. It's something that I strayed away from for a while because I think a part of me did not like that Instagram and those places were sort of like turning to short form video over photos because it was historically a photo first app for such a long time. When it started sort of like shifting focus to short form, I was just kind of like, damn, are they really doing this and trying to compete with other apps? I just didn't feel like it was the smart play, but I think in the long run, I guess like for ad revenue, it makes sense for them, right? Like retention value, all that stuff. Like it makes sense for the bigger company to, want to keep people on their app. So, in some ways it's upsetting for me as a photographer, but in other ways, hey, they got to make money, grow or die. I finally sort of like joined that race and I posted 2 last week. I'm probably going to post another 2 this week. This sort of, I don't want to bite off more than I could chew. It's sort of been like the whole thing with doing Shoot to Ill as well, is that like, there's 3 things that I don't want to compromise. I don't want to compromise myself, my like health and well-being, my sanity. I don't want to stress out over stuff, my relationship and my work. As long as I don't compromise those 3 things, then I'm good. Then all this stuff that I'm doing on the side, the podcast, the vlogs, the videos that I'm doing on YouTube, all that stuff is just a plus. And I think like the reason why I continue doing it is, again, to, be better as a creative, as an all-around creative, get comfortable in front of the camera. I believe that consistency will not only make me better as a creator, but it'll make me a better editor, a better photographer, a better videographer, and lead me to have a better understanding of this sort of like social realm that continually keeps changing over time. So the shorts that I have been doing have been very low lift. Like I'm doing like these point of view sort of videos where I'm going out to shoot and grabbing a couple shots. And like so far, the 2 that I've posted, one was a part of the vlog that I just released. And then the other one was just me going out, picking up Luna from the airport and taking some photos at LAX. And similar how I'm doing YouTube, like I'm sort of trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. The case study of me doing it and sort of like learning, the pacing, the music, all this stuff. Obviously, everyone has their own recipe of what works, like food creators aren't doing the same style and rhythm as other types of creators. And obviously there are some creators that sort of like mimic other people's styles, but then that's when things become a trend and then trends go out of style very quickly. So I don't want my content to sort of like live on a trend or be known as a trend. I want my content to sort of feel and look timeless. And I think some of that is the way it's edited. And another thing is the music that I chose. And I think like the music that I chose for the first one that I uploaded, as much as I like hip hop and it's what I listen to on a day-to-day basis, I think I've watched videos and I've read some papers on music theory and retention when what it has to do with retention. Very similar to, just to go off on a tangent, when I was working as an acquisitions designer, every quarter we would take these sort of like I wouldn't say courses, but they would get us all together and have us sit down with an expert, and that expert would explain to us, these are the trends that have happened over the last year, the last 6 months, the last 3 months. And in those times, this color was the color that was clicked on the most. This color background or this type of layout had the most retention on screen, all this stuff. And they would show us heat maps. And then we would compare that to the heat maps of stuff that we were putting out and doing. So like ads, landing pages, all that stuff. So if you don't, just to give you guys an example, when you guys get an email from a company, chances are that there's code on the back of those emails that allows them to see and know what you're clicking on. And so when that campaign ends, when that email campaign ends, that code then creates a heat map to show the company or acquisition or agency, whoever ran that campaign, and it'll show them like these are the things that they clicked on the most. So let's say that you got sent an email from H&M, and on that H&M email, there's 4 men's shirts, 4 women's pieces of clothing, and maybe a couple sale options. On their end, they'll see like big red circles on like what was clicked on the most, and then that circle would get lighter and lighter and smaller and more yellow to the things that were not clicked as much. So all that stuff, this is all analytics, and like I found very, very interesting. And so I sort of took that same approach when it came to music moving forward, because I think the one thing that I have definitely been struggling on is music and pacing in my videos. Now, after watching some videos and reading some studies, whenever you hear more upbeat drums or more like boom bap beats, there is a sense of like feeling that comes with that. And I think that my videos just didn't match it, especially like for a lot of talking head stuff. Using that kind of music didn't necessarily work for me. What I did have to find is music that felt timeless, music that felt like it can go on and on and on without ever feeling like it was like the viewer was losing interest. And that's hard to do. But the first thing that I thought of when I was reading these studies and watching these YouTube videos and people break down this idea of like retention with music is 2 years ago at Coachella, we saw Cigarettes After Sex came on as a guest for, I forget his name, this artist who, he's a Mexican artist that brought Cigarettes After Sex out during his set. And I really enjoyed their music. And when I got home, I added their 3 albums onto my Apple playlist or Apple library, which was Cigarettes After Sex, Cry, and X's. And I played those 3 albums sort of like on repeat for over a week. And man, it honestly felt, and I don't know if this is a good thing for me to say. I don't know if they would take it as a negative thing, but I would listen to it and I would feel like I would zone out. And there were times where I didn't know where one song ended and one song began. So I think the good thing about that was that like you can keep listening to it and the vibe felt like it went on and on and on. And it just felt like a great long form soundtrack in the back. And so when I was watching these YouTube videos and reading about all this stuff, retention and them saying to find a soundtrack and something that felt like didn't fight what you were doing too much, I was just like, man, like obviously I can't afford to license Cigarettes After Sex and their music. But I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can find anything like it on Epidemic Sounds, on Artlist, on the music sites that I have subscriptions to. And after about 2 hours of like searching through and digging through everything, like I did find a few songs that were like dreamy, that had an echoey guitar, that had that. Some of it maybe was a little bit more upbeat than I would like, but I was able to find some music. And I used only those songs on my last vlog that I uploaded last Monday, vlog 7. I had 3 conversations with friends. One of my friends, Caesar, he said that it felt like the video went by really quickly. And he said he thought it was because of the music. And I thought that was like the perfect way for me to sort of like have that retention, is because I'm making these more long form videos. I think keeping people's attention for that long, especially because like I think creators that make these long form videos, it's hard to keep people's attention for, you know, 30, 40 minutes straight. Most of the time, I think these videos are going up and like, you know, they're going up while people are working, or uh, they're on in the background somewhere, and they're just meant to hold your attention for maybe a couple minutes while you're doing something else, and then you get back to it, but you're still sort of listening to it in the background. I mean, for three people to tell me like, "Hey, this was really cool. I really enjoyed it." It made me feel like I was on the right track. So similar to the shorts that I've been posting, and I know this was like a really long way around to get to the point that I'm trying to make, but the first short that I posted last week or 2 weeks or maybe a week and a half ago now, that that one had a more upbeat song. Uh, it was still sort of smooth and soft, but like it was definitely it didn't feel sort of like it matched the vibe. And then for the second one, I used cigarettes after sex. And on Instagram, I don't think, you know, my content hasn't been picked up by the algorithm yet. So I don't think like I've gotten like a good idea of what the value of the content on Instagram is yet. But on YouTube, posting the two of them and then seeing the difference in the analytics, where like they were both about a minute long, but the retention video of the one that I used a song from Cigarettes After Sex had a 30-second retention, as opposed to the other one having a 5-6 second retention. So again, I know that music, and I know that music has always been very important to a video, and I know that audio itself is very important to everything. It's taken me sort of like a long time for me to sort of like find this, and I will probably continue to use music like this in my videos and see where this goes, and you know, this will be something that I use now, but then maybe down the line I'll switch to something else that feels similar, that feels like it can go on forever, but uh doesn't feel like it fights the story. And I think that that's sort of like the point of all this, you know? Like I think sometimes when you think of music in films or in videos, you think of it as like a soundtrack, or you want it to set a pace. But a lot of the times the editor is setting the pace for the music, and then we have to go and search for music that fits the video. It's one of the things that I think editors complain about the most, is when they're working with clients. If you've ever done a video for someone, you've for sure gotten the request, can we change the music? And the reason why editors don't like to do that as much is because we can't just put another song onto it. We have to adjust the cuts for the video. And we have to make sure that it either like goes off of the snare or the kick or some sort of hit in the song for it to feel like it's cohesive. And luckily there's tools now like AI, like on DaVinci Resolve AI. They have this thing where like it gives you the beats on where to cut. And it makes it really easy now. But at the same time, you're having to go through all the visual clips and just like click and drag to make sure that it matches. And then even then, if one clip was the perfect length and you don't have any more to give, but you can't afford to cut anything, it just gets messy. The whole point of this is to have it feel seamless. And I don't want it to feel like I'm fighting myself. I've already had to give up a lot of that sort of like power, not power, but I guess the word would be, I've already had to sacrifice a lot of the things that I would usually be more meticulous about. I'm having to just sort of have to make the decision and stick with that decision. And I guess the good thing about it is that it's leading me to see and understand this process a lot more. And I think I was having another conversation with my friend Andy, who we've known each other for a long time, and we go way back, like maybe 2011, maybe maybe before that, 2010. So we've known each other for 16 years. I'm dating myself, but the conversations that I've been having with him lately about this is that I think the important part, if you're looking to make any sort of content, and uh, you hold yourself back because you want it to be perfect, is that you won't know if it's perfect or not until you post it. And then there's a high chance that when you do post it, it might not be as perfect as you imagined it to be. It might not get the reaction that you wanted it to be. I think the whole point of this now is that I think a lot of people are just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. And the algorithm is changing so often and so frequently that we don't know what it's going to be choosing to show people. The perfect example that I think of when it comes to this is if you think back to any of your favorite creators now, whether it be YouTubers, anyone on TikTok, anyone on Instagram, if you think back to the content that they started posting and you think how they ended up where they are now, how much has that changed? You know, there's a couple of outliers, like there's Casey Neistat and his brother Van, who I think developed this style that is very unique, this sort of like scrapbooky, collagey type style that feels very rough and artistic, and it feels like something that they can only do. And I think when they created that style, it was during the HBO show that they did. And then shortly after that, when Casey started posting his vlogs, he had already had this comfort of like being able to tell stories on the fly. Or maybe it wasn't like he wasn't fully comfortable with it, but it was a comfort that he definitely learned during those 3 or 2 years that he did vlogging every day straight. You know, like I think the consistency is what shows you who you really are and what you're really capable of. On the opposite end of that would be someone like Emma Chamberlain, who had been vlogging since she was in middle school, and the videos that she was doing back then compared to the videos that she's doing now, and how comfortable she's gotten in front of the camera now, and how she tells her stories now, and how she shoots her stories now, and how they're edited, that's all different. But she's had to learn through all these different phases to get to this point. Now, if you are someone that is struggling to hit that record button, you have to do it and then deal with being uncomfortable for a little bit, because that uncomfortable feeling will fade as soon as you move on to the next one. So that's sort of how I'm seeing this, and the advice that I gave Andy, because I'm no one to preach about this, right? Like I feel like I'm not at the point to where I want to be yet. I feel like I still have to take all these steps and get to a point to where I'm fully comfortable, and I feel like I can make a movie every week. I'm not there yet. Like I think that there's this idea of where I want Shoot to Ill to be, and that idea is like, it's out of reach right now, but the more that I sort of like, it feels like I'm preaching. The more that I sort of keep going, the more that I see that that dream sort of like get closer. Because from starting Shoot to Ill and doing the Patreon and wanting to do all that stuff, there's the bigger dream of wanting it to be a bigger series and have guests and have other creators come in and have it be a bigger thing, something that can help other creatives, a scholarship fund to where I can give back to other Latino creators like myself. And there's all these things that I hope and dream for it to become. And I can't get there without first having to put myself through all this. And the hardest part about this is that I feel like I'm doing so well professionally. Like the fact that I'm working, and the fact that I'm able to provide for my family, And the fact that I have clients that I've worked with for years and that trust me and continue to work with me, I realize how fortunate I am. At the same time, I think being in this position and moving past all the shit that I've worked through, I I want to create a path forward for other people because I know how hard it was for me to find it. It took me years. It took me um, a lot of. I went to I went through some dark shit to figure shit out, and I and if I can help people get through that as well, I think that it would be the least that I can do. So yeah, I have how I got there from starting to do shorts and being afraid to bite off more than I could chew. I don't know. It's almost like I have to check my ambition and make sure that I am not uh, doing too much because it's very easy for me to lose control and uh, when I can sort of like rein things in and be more hyper focused, I know that I can be that laser beam that can really do some damage as opposed to just like a more broad flashlight. You know what? I've been watching fucking Love Island, and I like when I say things like that, like analogies, it makes me feel like super fucking corny. Because there's this dude on that fucking show that just is it feels like he only speaks in analogies, and it makes me want to throw shit at the TV. But yeah, so yeah. Other than that, I got this thing. So this is the Insta360 Luna Ultra. It's an amazing little camera, but I didn't buy it for myself. I think that if you guys have watched my vlogs, I just got rid of the Go Ultra because it didn't shoot in 10-bit color. And this one does shoot in 10-bit color, but I didn't buy it for me. I bought it for Luna. And the fact that Luna has the same name as this camera just felt like it was more of a match made in heaven. And I think the purpose of this is because I wanted, I guess going back to what I was talking about earlier, is I wanted her to have something that would take away a lot of that friction. And I think this thing has a lot of features that is beneficial for not just pros or people that do content professionally, but people that are getting into doing more content, I guess, more seriously. It's a perfect entry level camera that checks off a bunch of different boxes. I mean, there are some specs in this that I feel are a little bit overkill. Like AK30 is something that I don't think a lot of creators will use unless they need to like crop in the image so much. Other than that, 10-bit iLog is cool. But again, I have a lot of friends who are influencers and they don't know how to color correct video. They just want to shoot it, make it look good. And I think a lot of them rather use their phone for that stuff. And I think this is sort of like the perfect upgrade from that, is that the night mode in this, like what you can do with this thing in low light is insane. And I am shooting a video with it right now. And the direction that I'm taking is it the perfect camera for someone who just wants to pick it up and shoot? There are two gripes that I have with it right now that I'll mention in the video. And it turns out I might have to rush the video out because the DJI Pocket 4P is going for sale on June 23rd. So that's Tuesday, I believe. Tomorrow, the day after this video goes up. So if I don't get it up before then I feel like the algorithm's just going to be pushing a lot of Pocket 4P stuff out. So I'll try to rush it out. We'll see how it is. Again, I'm not trying to overdo it and kill myself for one video, but we'll see. I do think that it's a really cool camera, and I guess I'll show you this part. I bought the creator combo with it, and it came with a pro mic. So this is the Insta360 Mic Pro. and I have a little Hello Kitty graphic on there for Luna. It's cool because this is digital ink. So right now the mic is off, but this ink, the digital ink sort of like stays there. It's like locked on there. And you can put any image you want on there, really, even like selfies or whatever it is, letters, logos. I chose that for Luna just because she loves Hello Kitty, and I think the sort of like little Mexican inspired image is really cool. But yeah, there's more videos like that to come. I'm not sure if that's going to be a whole separate video for like another Monday, or if I should rush it. I guess we'll see. If I could do it without having to kill myself, it will go up probably shortly after this video. But if it doesn't go up on the same day as this, then it will probably go out next Monday. But yeah, besides this, there's a couple other videos that I really want to work on. Some that I've shot almost 3 years ago now, that I'm like debating on whether or not that I should edit and just put out. And I guess the only difference would be is that I didn't is that I still had hair back then and I was a little bit heavier. But I do think that some of those videos would be good to release, especially because there was like a friend of mine, Vito, Photography by V on Instagram. He's like one of the best car photographers that I know. And I've shadowed him before, and I've gone to downtown LA to do a shoot that he did with Vossen, where he shot some rims under the 6th Street Bridge when it was still the original 6th Street Bridge. And I sort of like saw his process on how he did his light painting and compositing. And he basically, back then, he explained to me the process. And me being experienced in Photoshop, I just sort of like took what he told me and I edited the photos the way that I thought, they were supposed to be edited. And I thought they came out great. But I think since then, he's become such a better photographer. And I feel like I've definitely gained some experience as well. So we linked up again 3 years ago to do another car shoot. And this was for the original Shoot to Ill series, where I went all out. I rented an Aston Martin. I got a warehouse in downtown LA. And, he sort of like walked me through everything, sort of just coached me through the process. And I had the 4D set up and just following me around the car as I took pictures, and we did some light painting. It was a really cool experience. And I feel like that's one of those videos that has been in the chamber. And I think that since I started doing this, I wanted to get to the right point for me to pick that back up again. Little by little, I'm sort of like getting to the point to where I know that I can handle it without sort of having to stress myself out or feel like I'm doing too much. So yeah, I'm excited to sort of like pick that back up and see what comes of it, And even if nothing comes of it, I really want to just feel like I did what I set out to do, because having something like that just sit feels wrong. Like I should have done it back then, and I don't know. I feel like I've grown a lot since then, so it deserves to have that time now. But yeah, that's it for this episode, guys. I really appreciate you guys watching. If you guys made it this far, please like, subscribe, share this video, or share the podcast on Apple Music, on Spotify, or on SoundCloud, wherever you guys are listening to this. I really appreciate all of you guys. Thank you again. I'll see you guys next week, or maybe sooner, for this video. But until then, keep shooting. Peace.